This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Coyle Leary here on this Wednesday, January 8th. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'm Jim Coyle. Todd Leary is at my side. Hope everything's going well for you guys. Toddrick, how's your day starting?
It's great. It's beautiful. Sunshine always makes it better.
A little chilly.
It's cold, but it's pretty out.
Other than that, yeah, it's you can't really complain. I mean, if it's not 6 inches of snow on the ground, there's nothing to complain about.
Yeah, this time of year. I mean, we're lucky. I saw it's going to be close to 60 degrees on Friday.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Just
awesome.
Loving it. Like McDonald's, man. I'm loving it. Matt Weaver's on the program today. Indiana, of course. They need to replace an offensive coordinator, and great time of year to do it because there's a lot of people that are – some people out of a job, some people looking for a job, and this is a job that is going to be drawing a lot of attention. Indiana brings back a heavy roster of players, and – one of which is Whop Phillier, who announced yesterday or the day before yesterday that he's coming back for his senior year. So that's another big boost of nothing but goodness for Indiana football, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against him. I like him. I think he's a great player. I love him for Indiana, but that would have been like the equivalent of me announcing I was coming back for my senior year. I mean, I think I had just as much chance of getting drafted as he did. But anyway, whatever. Glad he's coming back. I'm glad he's excited about it. I'm glad he thinks that highly of his abilities, which is great. We talk about confidence all the time, but from the coach's search perspective, I mean, I'm asking because I truly don't know. Like, do they go like Penn State went to Minnesota? They went within their own conference. I mean, it's a level move for the guy from Minnesota to go to Penn State because you're in the same conference, but obviously a bigger name program, I guess, would be the reason why you would step up like that. Where's Indiana go? Do they go? Can they get someone to move within conference? Or are they not big enough?
You can if that's the guy that you want. I'm assuming.
I know you can. I'm saying, like, would somebody leave a?
I think anyone would leave a coaching position to take an offensive coordinator position. You're talking about a whole different level of coaching and a whole different level of salary, responsibility.
But didn't the offensive coordinator from Minnesota leave and go become the offensive coordinator at Penn State?
Didn't
he go from one?
It, but there's. Sure. But that is, sure but you're looking at a level, a move up. That's a step up for anybody.
And so what I'm saying is Indiana's job big enough right now for somebody to do that within the Big Ten Conference, or do they have to go down to
but that would be Rutgers or Illinois or a team that is below Indiana.
And those teams' offenses didn't really overly impress anybody.
No, they did not.
So they'll be looking in the lower conference ranks for somebody that put up a ton of points, like UCF or somebody like that.
You never know. Just because of what Indiana's got coming back, which is a lot, they really do. I mean, you got to figure they got Michael Penix coming back, their quarterback. You've got Whop Phillier coming back. You've got a lot of linemen coming back. They've got a lot of experience this year. Running backs are all back. So their entire offense basically is coming back. That's very appealing to somebody. I mean, even if a guy wanted to, in the back of his mind, say, man, if I can give one good year there, who knows? I mean, but I know that that's not what Tom Allen's looking for. He's not looking for a one-year guy. But, man, I think it's a very attractive job just because Indiana plays in the Big Ten East, so you're playing against quality opponents in Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin. So you're playing on TV all the time. So it just has so much, and they know they have the money. They know they paid Kalen DeBoer upwards of $1 million, so the money is there. So,
yeah, I just if you were talking about basketball coaching searches, like I know in the Big Ten, someone would transfer from Minnesota to be an assistant in Indiana because that's thought of as a bigger job. I mean, Penn State's thought of a better job than Minnesota, so I get why that guy would transfer. I just don't know where Tom Allen looks first. I mean,
I don't think it's any specific place. I think that he probably talks. He's probably got people he talks to, and hopefully that there's a list has been created throughout the year. Any good coach or good athletics director has got a list at all times on each sport of guys that you might want to talk to that are up and coming. And then things change at the end of the season. People get fired. I mean, like Mississippi State's coach, he's looking for probably an offensive coordinator position after getting fired as head coach. Somebody will snatch him up.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Just curious.
So all kinds of stuff going on in that regard. Some games last night as well we're going to talk about today. Maryland continues. They're kind of moving up that, we talked about the power rankings yesterday. They're very fluid. Well, Maryland continues to move up. They knock off Ohio State last night, 67-55, and a game that they were in. I'll say that seemed to be in control of the entire time. They were never in danger of losing that game. They never had Ohio State put away, but they were pretty much in control of that game the entire time, Todd.
Yeah, and I said it going into the Indiana-Maryland game that Maryland just really wasn't playing very well. I mean, they weren't. And even in the Indiana game, I didn't think they played that great in that game either. But last night they played a little bit better. Both Ohio State and Maryland played good yesterday, and so it was a good game to watch. It was a fun game. I mean, both teams. The one thing I don't know if I should actually even say that because they both had a ton of turnovers, but. I mean, they made some tough shots. They were playing pretty physical. It was an enjoyable game to watch. And so, I mean, both of those teams looked good yesterday. I mean, Ohio State, just because they got beat by 12. I would say Maryland controlled the game throughout, but Ohio State was always right there. If they could have made some shots, I mean, they couldn't make any shots like yesterday from the outside. And so, I mean, I think they shot, I'm sure they shot 30% or less. Especially from three, because they couldn't make anything.
Yeah. Also, how about your boy Fred Hoiberg in Nebraska? They get him a win over at home, but over Iowa, 76-70. Iowa was an 8.5-point favorite, I think, in that game.
Well, yeah. I mean, when your team is picked to go 0-20 in the Big Ten, and you got 2 wins in the first 4 games, it's. Obviously, you're doing some stuff that people didn't see you being able to accomplish. And we talked about it earlier in the year, and Indiana plays them again coming up before too long. But, 14 of the 15 guys they have on their roster were not a part of the program last year. And they have no returning players from last year's team, no scoring, no nothing. So it's an unusual situation. But, yeah, I mean, we talked about it then as well. Freddie he's a player's coach. Guy, he's going to recruit well. He's going to get everyone in that Midwest area, and it will not be long before they're a tough out.
What if Indiana goes to Nebraska and loses that game? Is that a step back? Does that show Indiana's taking a step back?
100%, no doubt about it. I mean, they can still win that game. I'm talking about Nebraska yesterday. They can win that game, and they beat an Iowa team that's not bad. I mean, Iowa lost a big Bohannon this year, so I mean they lost a big part of their team, but they're also not. I mean, they're not a world beater either. They're a bunch of guys that can make shots. They're a lot like Wisconsin was against Indiana, so that's kind of the scary part. But Nebraska still, I mean, that's a game you've got to win. I mean, you have to. But I mean, Purdue went there and wasn't able to come away with a win. Iowa's gone there, not been able to come away with a win. On paper right now, it probably doesn't look like one Indiana would win. I just think Indiana is better than what's on paper right now.
We'll see about that in a few weeks. Rutgers also, man. We talked about Rutgers being one of those teams, not a team at the top, but they're one of those teams that don't sleep on because they're probably going to finish in the in the lower half of the Big Ten, but you can't sleep on Rutgers. They beat Penn State last night, 72-61.
Yep, and they're solid. They have got a bunch of guys who have have experience playing. They're just a team that's going to be. They're going to, they in that who beat Indiana in the Big Ten tournament last year when Indiana just needed a win. I mean, they've kind of.
No, that was the year before last in New York.
Yeah. I mean, they. This is just a team that is difficult to play against because they've got some guys that are kind of crafty and they play hard for one. The other, they're a tough out. I agree. I think at the end of the year they'll be right in the middle of the Big Ten area. They're better than they usually are, but they still can't compete for the whole 20-game Big Ten season.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Another game of interest last night. Kentucky went to Georgia looking for a soul to steal, but they got a win instead, 78-69 over Tom Crean and Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, and Mr. Edwards is good. He's legit. That guy is good, but it's Kentucky. Kentucky is improving. You hate to. As an Indiana fan, you kind of hate to say that, but they're getting better. They're not, they still can't shoot the ball from the outside. They made some timely shots last night. Otherwise that game would have turned out differently, but give them credit. They made those shots. They're a team that's probably going to, they'll win a lot of games like that. Georgia has a really, really good player. Edwards is incredibly good, but beyond that, it's kind of the same Tom Crean teams we saw at Indiana. I mean, they don't really have any movement on offense, and they were looking at going one-on-one the whole time in that game last night. And if Kentucky has one strength, it's that they're pretty good defensively, and they made Georgia take some tough shots last night. I mean, the Edwards kid made some incredible shots.
Yeah, it just shows the talent gap. I mean, that's a kid that, in any other circumstances, just goes straight to the NBA. He has that kind of talent. It's crazy.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he is. It's funny because Tom Crean seems to find that style of player. I mean, he's a Dwayne Wade. He's a very comparable player to a Dwayne Wade in build and size and skill set and everything. And I think Tom Crean, as he should have, I think he should have gotten a lot of credit for the development of Dwayne Wade. I mean, Dwayne Wade was much better when he graduated from Marquette than he was when he got there. This kid came in that good, and he's only going to be there 1 year, and he's going to leave that good. So I don't know that you credit the development of him to Tom Crean as much, but I mean, you got to credit the recruiting side of it because he was able to get that kid to buy in and go to a school that can care less about basketball.
Ryan says the Georgia game was fun to watch. There was a lot of other fun games as well. Tim texts in. It's funny how the bottom teams in the past few years are all of a sudden moving towards the top of the Big Ten standings. Yeah, you see that from time to time, but it's who. Now we're seeing teams like Penn State, Rutgers kind of elevate themselves. That's something we haven't seen yet, but we're seeing now. I mean, we saw glimpses. Penn State showed that they could be possibly, but never really got there. Well, now they're kind of getting up there where they can compete, Todd, and that's something for that program.
Well, we discuss this all the time, and then we seem to act surprised about it once it starts to happen. But a big part of that is because they get 4-year players. They have guys. They're in their cycle right now where the guys that they have scoring and playing and a big portion of their minutes are juniors and seniors. And when you've got that, I mean, we've discussed this at length all the time, is when you've got veteran players that come in and stick around and buy into the program and are there for a long time. They're hard out. They're harder to beat, and they're just seasoned veterans, and that's what these teams have. But then, it's like you said it yesterday, and it's like Northwestern. Northwestern 2 years ago was really good, and then a couple of their guys graduated, and now they're back to starting over again. And these teams have to kind of start over. They'll get a group of guys that can play for 3 or 4 years, and then they kind of have to start over again. So they'll have a lull after a year or two.
We've got a lot coming up here on the program today. Matt Weaver's going to join us. We're going to talk about the offensive coordinator, special teams positions open on this team. We've got a lot of basketball to get to. Indiana takes on takes on Nebraska. Shoot. Northwestern.
Game day.
Why don't I just go through the lineup? I'll get to it eventually.
You'll get to it.
Indiana takes on Northwestern tonight. Of course, that means after the game, with Todd Leary's coming to you as soon as that contest is over on Facebook Live. So make sure you're ready for the post-game show with Todd Leary for that. As soon as that comes to a close, of course, we'll be coming to you live from Yogi's, brought to you by Best Beer of Bloomington. Looking forward to that. Hopefully Indiana can pull out a win and get back on the winning side. And then they'll host Ohio State this Saturday. So it's a big week for the Hoosiers, Todd.
Yeah, it is. I mean, tonight is a get healthy kind of night. They should not have that much of a problem. Now, when you say that, fans don't freak out if it's still relatively close at halftime. But Indiana will come away with a win, and they'll impose their size and athletic ability and end up winning this game tonight. But then Saturday is the real. That's the test. I mean, that's the one. Coaches can say they don't. We don't look forward, past a certain opponent or whatever. And if this was Rutgers or, Penn State or somebody like that, I would agree you can't. Northwestern, you can look past. You're going to win this game. Obviously, you don't tell your players that, but I mean, the real test for Indiana will be Saturday. I mean, it'll be a talented team that's coming in here on a 3-game losing streak. I mean, can you get a worse time to play Ohio State right now? I mean, they've lost 3 in a row, and they're 1-3 in the Big Ten. And
they're going to be looking for blood.
No doubt.
They've got to get their stuff together too. But we got all that. We got so much of that to talk about. We've got Northwestern to break down. Todd's going to break the game down and all that. So Matt Weaver's going to join us next. So plenty to get to here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy and Leary. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with all that and more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment. All things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coy O'Leary here on this Wednesday, January 8th, joined now by our good friend Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. Matthew, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
We're getting by now that college football is basically over, getting past that and trying to get on to the college basketball fix. But a lot of things to take care of yet, Matt, especially for Indiana. A lot of stuff going on. Of course, we know that Kalen DeBoer leaves the Hoosiers to become the head coach out of Fresno State, but taking with him Indiana special teams coach William Inns to be his defensive coordinator. So now Coach Allen has two positions to fill, which I'm not sure if that's easier or not, but a good time of year to do that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's obviously you only got one game left, and then the coaches' convention is next week, so you have a chance to meet with a lot of different coaches and talk to them face to face. I think interviews are going to start for the OC position before that, but I could see him waiting until the coaches' convention, maybe talking to some other guys, unless the guy just really blows them away. And as far as the special teams job, I would guess that's probably secondary right now. You probably want to get this OC position filled as quickly as possible, and then start focusing on the special teams coordinator spot.
Oh, I agree 1,000%. And this offensive coordinator position, it's got to be one that he's getting a lot of names from the outside. I'm certain are coming into this for Coach Allen.
Yeah, I think he said it. There's no shortage of guys who are interested in the position. I mean, names still haven't really started to filter out yet, but I know he's probably already be talking to guys. And like I said, I think interviews are going to start here in the next few days. And then, we'll see what starts to leak out. I mean, with this stuff, it's almost impossible for it to be kept totally quiet. So I would think some names of people who are meeting with him or doing interviews will start to come out. And, I think he'll be able to attract a really top flight candidate, just like he did last year with Coach DeBoer.
Any names that you've heard just as potential possibilities for this position?
Not really. I mean, I do know that there is some consideration being given to keeping it in the house, maybe looking at like a Nick Sheridan or something like that. I think my thing is, though, if you were going to do that, I think you probably would have already made that decision. I mean, it doesn't make sense to wait it doesn't make sense to wait, if you're going to promote within. But, maybe they want to go through the process and do some interviews, and then maybe they circle back and maybe Nick Sheridan ends up being the guy. But I think if you were going to do that, you would have done that from the get-go when Coach DeBoer first announced that he was leaving, and then, you just kind of make that seamless transition. So I think they're going to at least explore some outside possibilities, and, it'll be interesting to see, like I said, what names pop up and, what kind of candidates they have.
Yeah, I think the excitement generated this year by Kalen DeBoer and what he was able to get done is just sitting there as a magnifier for anybody looking at this position. Then you've got things like Whop Phillier announcing he's coming back. So basically, the entire offense is coming back next year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you got to replace a couple receivers, but I think they've got good talent at receiver, and obviously, to me, their top two are coming back, and that's Whop and I think Ty Froyfogel will kind of establish himself as the number two guy at wideout for IU this year. And then, all your tight ends are back. Offensive line-wise, you're losing, Simon Stepniak and Hunter Littlejohn, but you had a grad transfer in Dylan Powell. Still waiting to see what happens with Coy Crunk. But even if he doesn't come back, I liked what they have on the O-line, and there's still opportunities to maybe go out and add maybe try to get another grad transfer type guy to come in. Or, they offered a JUCO here recently. Emilio Moran from out of Lackawanna Community College in Pennsylvania. He's got 3 years left to play. So, there's still some options available to him, but they've done the O-line, I think, is going to be in good shape. I felt like if Coy came back, it was going to be one of the best units in the Big Ten. I still think it's got a chance to be really good, even if he doesn't. But hopefully he does, because that would be a huge boost for them. And offensively, like you said, there's a lot of talent back, and it's a very attractive unit for any offensive coordinator, potential offensive coordinator out there.
And it's not just that. Indiana as a team, they will be going into next season with a little bit more of a target on their back for maybe the first time ever, because people will know that, because normally you look at the previous season. Well, they look at last year, and they're going to see some success from this team. And knowing that they've got all that back, there's going to be a little bit more pressure now on this team, on Tom Allen, to win next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you win 8 games this year, and looking at the schedule next year, winning 8 again is very doable. And not that if you just won 7, I say just won 7, which has not happened a ton in Indiana in football. That would be a disappointment. But I think you kind of set the bar. And listen, Indiana's a program where you're going to have some years because of you're not recruiting a lot of 4- and 5-star guys. That when you're at some years 7 wins may be your ceiling. Now, hopefully they get to a point where that's more of the the exception and not the rule, and you're winning 8, 9 games, and 7's kind of a down year. But the schedule sets up nicely next year, and like you said, they are going to have more of a target on their back because of what they did this season. But they still got some things that they need to do, and that's try to knock off one of the bigger teams. So they had 4 or 5 chances if you count the bowl game, and came up short. So that to me is the next step, knocking off an Ohio State or a Michigan or a Penn State, or if you get into a bowl game, a team like like a Tennessee, like they played this year.
And losing William Enns, I know that you're not losing much when you lose a special teams coach, but from a recruiting standpoint, what's Indiana losing in that regard?
Well, he's done a good job. He's been the lead guy on Memphis, on the Memphis recruits. So, that's been his area. And then he also recruits Central Florida. So you're talking like the Orlando, he kind of goes up into that Tallahassee area. So he's kind of been that guy in that part of it. So you're going to have to, the Memphis area is a big one. They've gotten some good players from Memphis, and they're continuing to recruit there. So, they're going to have to figure out who takes his spot or kind of how they do that. And then, like I said, going to Central Florida. Now, the good thing is, obviously, with Florida, Tom Allen is so well known. I think that will be probably of the two, probably the easier area to kind of cover, just because Indiana blankets that state so much. And there's probably some guys that William Minch, maybe started off on that other coaches were in on too. So to me, the Memphis, Tennessee area will be a little bit more difficult. Not impossible. He can certainly do it, but he did a really good job in that area. And obviously was, like I said, you look at the guys that got Matthew Bedford and Cam Jones and Jalen Williams and go on and on for the guys, Jacoby Hewitt, guys that have really have been contributors or will be contributors. So to me, that's going to be a big one, because Tennessee is an area where Tom Allen feels like they can really get in there and get some players up to Indiana.
Todd says he wants to be the kicker next year.
I could have accomplished the same thing they did in the Purdue game, but that's about it. Well, I probably wouldn't have missed that extra point either.
Yeah, that extra point was a killer.
That was a killer. And that kid Justice had such a great year. Just a real unfortunate final 2 games for him, but man, that extra point was a killer.
Where does that leave next special teams next year, Matt?
I'm sorry, what?
Where does that leave Indiana special teams wise? You got a kicker that's graduating. Punters, I think. Well, they have a punter. Hayden's coming back one more year, I think, right?
Yeah, he gets a 6th year. Charles Campbell should be the kicker, and obviously, he hasn't done it a bunch. I think he kicked one time early in the year in a blowout game. They let him kick, and then obviously he had that kick, which was huge in that Purdue game.
Yeah, gigantic.
After Justice missed his first 3 field goals, and he came in and in tough conditions, came off the bench cold and knocked it.
How tough is that?
That was a
How tough is that?
Kick.
Right,
I could be wrong, but it was a pretty good distance. So, in the bowl game for me, I was okay with Justice being the kicker, but I think after he missed the extra point, I think I might have made the move to the other guy. I would have put him on a short leash, because of what happened in the Purdue game. But I didn't have a problem with him being the kicker because what he'd done over the 2 years. but I think I would have made the move. Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but I
Sure.
think I would have made the move. And I think Campbell, it's all a guess, but I would have liked to seen him kick that 52-yarder there at the end of the game that he just missed. I think Campbell had the better leg. And who knows, maybe he misses it badly, but I just would have liked to see what he could have done. But like I said, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, if you put him in instead and he misses that, he's got to come back this year. And so that would be hanging over his head a little bit. But, yeah, it's a shame. But hopefully moving forward they can continue to try to get someplace they haven't been before, as they almost got there this year. And Matt, my gosh, we're talking about how about Tennessee and their fans? They showed out. Indiana, I thought, had a great showing. They sold all their tickets and whatnot. But I get to the game, and it was a wash and an orange crush. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of, me and some friends were kind of wondering what it would be, and I would guess it was probably, what would you say, 70-30 Tennessee fans? I think that's probably pretty accurate.
80-20.
80-20, okay.
Yeah.
That's probably fair. So, I thought Indiana fans did a great job of showing up, but, I wasn't surprised. It's kind of like when Indiana basketball goes on a run in the NCAA tournament, and I'm sure Todd can remember this. I mean, there will probably be 2-1 Indiana fans to the rest of the fan base when you get go into the NCAA tournament and you make a run. So hopefully they get to a point where Indiana fans, it's not when it comes to football, or it's 50-50 at worst, and maybe even a little bit more. But I thought Indiana fans did a great job, and I wasn't surprised by the Tennessee turnout because it's a football school and that's what they do.
Absolutely. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. I can't thank you, brother.
Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
You betcha. There's Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. We've got plenty more to talk about, plenty more basketball to get back to. Todd's going to break down tonight's matchup between Indiana and Northwestern as Indiana looks to get back onto the winning side and even their Big Ten record. Michigan State right now sitting at 4-0, Todd. They're kind of like I said, they're going to peak away as being the team to chase this season. Ohio State takes another loss last night. Maryland looked like they're maybe the second best team right now in the conference. That's been some ebbs and flows. Maryland was kind of there. They dropped back a little bit. They didn't play well, and they're not playing great, like you said now, but they're playing good enough. And but we're just about to get into that January, February conference play. It's just like a fist fight every night.
Yeah, it is. And Michigan State has done what, I thought there would be 2, possibly 3 teams that would kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack, but that's not been the case. Michigan State's been the only team that really took advantage of, getting off to a good start and playing well. And, their schedule, assuming that they continue to play well, I know how difficult it is. It's not going to be a gimme win, but their schedule sets up for them to be off to a really, really good start. I mean, they could easily be undefeated when they come into Assembly Hall and play IU January 23rd. I mean, they've got to beat Minnesota, Purdue, and Wisconsin prior to that. And the Purdue game is on the road, but the other 2 are at home. They could very easily still be undefeated by the time they come to Assembly Hall. So, Michigan State has for sure, because of their undefeated 4-0 start, has gotten themselves off to the best position for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this, of course, more. But Saturday, I don't want to get past Northwestern. Indiana has to play Northwestern tonight, and they have to play them.
You can look past it.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about it after the break, but we'll talk about Ohio State, too, coming to town, because it's an opportunity for Indiana where they're capturing them. But let's go ahead and hit that break so we can come back and finish out the hour here. Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary here on this Wednesday, January 8th. Jim Coyle with you here, Todd Leary alongside. Indiana takes on Northwestern tonight. Big Ten play as the Hoosiers get back into and stay at Big Ten play now the rest of the season. A home game, which is all the important, Todd. Of course, getting a win there, but also Northwestern should be the elixir that Indiana needs as the Ohio State Buckeyes come into town Saturday. So it's going to be a challenge for Indiana. Ohio State not playing as well as they had been at the start of the season, and I don't want to get past Northwestern. Indiana's going to have to – Indiana has not exactly been playing great themselves, so they've got to get themselves back on the right track and doing the things they need to do tonight against Northwestern, and this is just the team to do it against. I mean, to be honest, Todd.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Northwestern is the they're the team that a lot of people are going to get right on throughout the season. Unfortunately for Indiana, they only play them this one time. This would have been nice to have been one of the road games to get to go there and get a road win. But Northwestern, I mean, they're Division I basketball players, and they're pretty well coached with Chris Collins. I hate to be that nonchalant about them. They're just talent wise, they're just not very good this year, and they. Their only hope in any Big Ten basketball game is just to make it as ugly as possible. And, they play a lot of zone defense, so they can teams all across the country, which Indiana is in this group, are struggling to shoot the basketball. And so they can, there's a way they can hang around. If Indiana tries to beat them from the 3-point line, there's a chance that Northwestern could come away with a win. I don't think that'll happen. I mean, I think Indiana, even though it's a zone, they still extend it out enough, and Indiana is just that much more athletic where they should be able to still pound the ball inside or at least get it in the lane and get some easy shots. Northwestern physically, they're actually, I mean, size-wise and height-wise, they're actually a fairly good-sized team. And they got a couple of 6'9", 6'10" guys, but they just are not. They're just not at the level of what the other players in the Big Ten are at. And so, I just don't see Northwestern having a chance in this game if Indiana, plays smart and gets the ball where it needs to go and is a little bit patient. Although I'm not saying, when I say patient, I mean patient just until they get a good shot. If that's 10 seconds into the shot clock, then they need to take it. It
would take a meltdown of catastrophic proportion for Indiana to lose this game. So it's not, and I don't mean that just be sounding all cocky. It's just a matter of fact.
It is what it is, right?
So we shouldn't even be talking about that, but we should, I guess, be talking about what can Indiana do to better themselves tonight. What do they need to do to get better tonight? What do they need to work on? What do you want to see from that team?
This is the kind of game where they need to build some confidence, and that confidence, is individual confidence, but it's also, confidence in your teammates. And I know Coach Miller's talked a bunch about, guys making the right pass and making the extra pass and making it a good pass, and not just the pass, but guys getting themselves in position where they could be passed to. And I think he's had some issues with that in the early part of the season, that guys there's not good enough movement where they're moving into open positions and guys can hit them with good passes, and that makes it easier to knock down a shot. I mean, there is no argument in the fact that it makes the shot tougher if it's not a good pass and right on the right in their shooting pocket. So, it's a thing they could work on a lot of themselves and getting that confidence going. And Indiana has had series and spurts in ball games this year that they have played really well. I don't think that they have. Even in the Notre Dame game, they had a big lead and they let it get away. And then in the Arkansas game, it was kind of the same thing. The Maryland game, they hung around there. They were down by 3 with 13 and a half minutes to go, and ended up at one point in time getting down by 30 in the second half. So they're not playing a full 40 minutes, and I think that tonight is something that could be focused on and working on. Even if you've got a 10-point lead, let's build that thing up to a 14-point lead and then an 18-point lead and just continue to play better throughout the whole game as opposed to having a little bit of a letdown.
Ken Palm gives Indiana an 85% chance of winning tonight per Tim, which, if you got the Ken Palm seal of approval, that just pretty much seals it.
Yeah, well, based on what's happened throughout the entire country this year, I'd say Ken Palm's been wrong quite a bit.
Well, I'd say most people have been wrong quite a bit this season.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm not blaming Ken Palm.
It's been a weird season.
It has been it's been a weird season so far, and there's no way. I mean, what do you think what do you think Wisconsin was going into Ohio State? I mean, I bet Ohio State was an 85% Ken Palm.
Well, speaking of Wisconsin, you got the only other Big Ten game tonight involves the Badgers. They're at home to Illinois. This should be a very equally matched game. This could be one of the funner games of the night to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a game that, people are probably going to pick Wisconsin to win because if you look at it on paper, they just went to Ohio State and won. However, Wisconsin is not a team that, because they're playing at home, it's all of a sudden means that they're going to play great. I mean, they are not that talented of a team. And I don't mean that to be rude. I'm not trying to pick on them. They're just, if Illinois comes in there and gets off to a good start, Illinois very easily could control that basketball game. Now, Illinois hasn't really gone on the road and proven that they can do that on the road. At home, they're a good team, but on the road, they've not been near as good.
Texas hosts Oklahoma tonight. Another little Big 12 game to watch. But, not a lot going on in the Big 10. These are the only two Big 10 games tonight. Indiana hosting Northwestern and Wisconsin hosting Illinois. So, and ironically, teams that are in the bottom half of the league there, all four of them, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just interesting because, like we're looking at Illinois, Wisconsin, like that's an interesting game for the night. And it's really because almost all of them are interesting. Truly, I know it sounds like I'm just picking on them, but truly the Northwestern game and whoever their opponent is probably going to be the least interesting game of the night, whatever night they're playing. But even like tomorrow night, Purdue at Michigan and Minnesota at Michigan State. I mean, there's no way you can tell me that Purdue doesn't have a chance at going into Michigan and winning. They do. Minnesota has a chance to go into Michigan State and win. I mean, Michigan State is good, but they're not that good. So every game this year is fairly interesting, probably except for the Northwestern games.
Tonight, Al Durham, what does he need to do in this game to show that he can be an important part of this team going forward, an important part of this team being successful going forward? Because it's time for dudes to step up. Man.
Yeah,
it's time to get off the cool guy train and get on the let's have a team train.
Yep, I agree. I mean, there is, one thing Northwestern does have, and this is kind of interesting, is they've got 5 guys who all average double figures. Now, they don't have one outstanding player. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys that they got 4 guys that average 10 and 1 guy that averages 12. And so, I mean, they're kind of evenly balanced. I think Indiana needs to get a little bit more to that point. And I think Al needs to, be a 10-point scorer for Indiana. And that involves making a couple of outside shots. It involves taking the ball to the basket. I think tonight will be, they've gotten away from getting to the free throw line. And when they've been there, they've not really capitalized on it that well, but getting there is the big issue. And, they were doing it great to start the season out, and the last few ball games since the Big Ten started, it's not been as good.
That not only that though, but when they are getting there, they're not hitting, and it's like it's almost it's ridiculous that you spend all that time and getting good at something to not finish the job.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I mean, they definitely have to do that, but the numbers are just, I mean, they're way down, and they were averaging 28 free throw attempts a game, and what they shoot in the Maryland game, like 15 or 17 or something like that. I mean, it's just they're not getting anywhere near the amount of attempts as what they were getting before. And a part of that is when you get to go to the free throw line, and if you shoot 8 free throws as an individual, you tend to get comfortable when you get up to the line. When you're only shooting 2, you never have that issue where you get in a rhythm. I mean, you remember the game when Trace Jackson Davis was 14 of 15. I mean, he obviously got on a roll and got in a rhythm making shots. When you only shoot 2 or even 4, I mean, you don't really get in a rhythm, and that definitely affects your percentages.
We got a text in. This is into a different through Spreaker, so I don't have a name for it. But it says Badgers at home in the Kohl Center. No, thank you.
It comes with music.
But yeah, Badgers at home in the Kohl Center, Wisconsin by 9 over Illinois. They are just tough at home, no matter who they play. Very, very possible. We'll see about that. And speaking of which, make sure you follow us wherever, whatever platform you listen to us on, whether it's, of course, on radio. There's nothing to follow there. But if you're a Spreaker or IndianaSportsBeat.com or Facebook, however you follow the show, there's a numerous ways of through podcasting, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. Follow us, give us a review, let us know. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the comments and all that as well. So, but yeah, it's going to be an important week for Indiana. It's an opportunity to kind of, if you can get 2 wins out of this week, you've really accomplished something. If you don't, you've just gotten through the week. Splitting this week is I won't even say it's expected, because you got to win this game at home, Todd, against Ohio State on Saturday. If you have intentions on having a successful season, you got to win the home games, man.
Yeah, you do. And so if you look at it, you look at it from that perspective. If, I had, when I marked down wins and losses to start this season out, I had this Ohio State game this Saturday down as a loss, but I had the Michigan State game down as a win. And I kind of based that, like you were talking yesterday, on power rankings, because at the time when I did this a couple of weeks ago, Michigan State was not playing very well, and Ohio State was. I think you've got to win one of those 2 games. And like I told you the other day, I put these down in 3-game stretches, and this first stretch for Indiana, I had them only going 1 and 2. I had the loss at Maryland and the loss at Ohio at home against Ohio State with a win against Northwestern. But then I had 4 W's in a row. I had them winning at Rutgers, at Nebraska, Michigan State at home, and Maryland back at home. So, I don't think if they lost to Ohio State, it'd be catastrophic. I think just because Ohio State has 3 losses in a row, I wouldn't necessarily say they're not playing that well. I mean, their big issue, like, let's not overlook the fact that they've lost one of their starters. I mean, Kyle Young is, he's not a huge scorer for them, but he's a very, very important part of their game. It would be like Indiana losing Justin Smith. And, he's not played the last 2 games, and he got hurt in the game before that. So, their 3 losses, he's not been available for them. And the way they talked, I think they possibly talked about him playing Saturday when they come in here. So maybe they'll be at full strength, but they're not quite at full strength right now. So Indiana has them at a good time, but is it a good time when they've lost 3 in a row? I mean, they've got to be hungry.
Indiana, of course, if you ask people to select for a starting lineup the 3 best guards, you're going to hear people say Al Durham, Devontae Green, and Rob Finney, without question. And in most years, in most times, that's probably who we would have seen in the starting lineup. I don't know if Archie's doing this to not take such a step down, because when you replace 1 or 2 of those guys, let's say 6, 7, 8 minutes in, you're obviously taking a huge step down when you're bringing in second-tier talent across the board. So is he trying to mitigate that by bringing Rob off the bench so it's not a drop-off, so you're trying to stay in more even-keeled with talent on the floor?
I don't think he's looking at it from the guard perspective as much as I think he's looking at it from the big guy perspective. And I think he's more comfortable starting Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis together. And not saying I agree with that. I just think that the way they run their offense, they like to have, a big guy trailing. They kind of like to have a high-low situation with 2 big guys. And, he likes to have those 2 guys in there together. I'm not saying I agree or necessarily disagree with it. I don't, if we had it our way, if you and I had it our way, we would start 3 guards like that, and Justin Smith and Trace Jackson Davis. So Joey Brunk wouldn't start. I think he'd be a great guy to bring in off the bench. But, they've only been starting the 2 guards. So, they've kind of gone with the more traditional lineup with 2 guards, 2 centers, or 2 forwards and a center. And, that they're one of the few teams that I think does that, because more teams are leaning towards the smaller lineups.
Joker says IU versus Northwestern will be more interesting than it should be. Why? Kind of like Geico. It's what IU does.
Here's something that you can say about that is Indiana has played to their competition level several times this year. So, it's going to be it'll be whether Indiana solves that zone. There's the zone they play. I want to call it a little bit like a Syracuse zone, where they kind of try to extend it out and take away the passes to the corner. But they leave an open area. Like, you can get the ball inside. And when I say inside, I don't necessarily mean with your back to the basket on the block. I mean, like, in the paint, just below the free throw line. There's a big open area in there. So if Indiana's able to solve that and execute that, they should easily win, I should say.
Should, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right?
Yeah, but everybody, it just seems like Indiana fans, even though they feel like they're pretty educated when it comes to basketball, and I think that they are. I think that when you take a situation like Indiana is struggling right now, losing their last couple of games, and they kind of try to figure out any opportunity they can to take a jab at them, and it's just like, this shouldn't be a close game tonight. And if it is a close game, I will very easily say, Indiana didn't play very well, but it shouldn't be. Northwestern is not good.
Yeah, Alan says he hopes that IU does not overlook Northwestern. Looking forward to Ohio State. They aren't that good this year, but this season has shown us never overlook any team. That is true.
Look, this is me saying this as a fan. This is not – the coaching staff is not in any way. The players, they're looking at it as another game, I certainly hope. You very seldom – here's what I think people – who've not been in the locker rooms before, here's what I think that they think there's a lot more discussion about the upcoming games, because there's really not. It's not like players sit around and go, today's a game day. That's why you'll hear me all the time say, yes, I'm excited about game day. It's not like, oh yeah, we're just playing Northwestern. No, it's a game day. It's a different day. You only get so many of these a year. And so you're excited about a game day. No one right now has talked about playing Ohio State next Saturday or talked about playing Michigan State on the 23rd. Players don't do that. You don't look forward. You don't look past opponents. Now, players come out and maybe don't have the same energy level as what they're going to have on Saturday, because that place Saturday will be crazy loud and excited. Tonight, it'll be more of a subdued older crowd, I'll say.
Expect any special guests on Saturday?
I'm expecting a special guest, but that's just my expectation.
It's just Todd's expectation. We got to go to break? Oh, I was going to say, not yet. Tebow texts in, says no rest these next 8 games. We have only 3 to 5 days in between games until February 1st. We have 7 days in between Ohio State and Purdue game. Yeah, well, they come at you a little bit more heavily now.
But that's a good thing. I'm telling you that you want that. Players do not want these long 7-day rests, and we've talked about that at length about how this schedule, from December the 10th on, this schedule has really sucked from a player's perspective. I mean,
we'll talk about that more.
Oh yeah, I'm over the time. My bad.
It's all right. That's what we do here. We got plenty more. We got another hour to talk about it. We got plenty to talk about. Basketball, football. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Comments, questions. We're back with Indiana Sports Beat, Coyle and Leary from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier.
number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
I always wanna be by your side. Girl, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary here on this Wednesday, January 8th. It feels a little bit more like January out there, but it's not too bad. Can't complain. It's been an okay winter.
Typical Indiana. It's going to be 60 on Friday and 30 next Friday.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take it. Hey,
if you could throw a 60 in there, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in.
Anything that helps get you through the night, right?
There's a 62 degrees on Saturday. There's a chance I'll be hitting a golf ball or two.
There will be people out, man.
No doubt. That's for sure.
I just want to get to March.
Every Hoosier fan says that generally because it means Big
Basketball
Ten tournament. Big Ten tournament and it's NCAA tournament.
You know, this year both tournaments, Big Ten wise, men's and women's, are in Indianapolis. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun couple weeks for us.
Thank goodness.
We camped out at the Tap up there.
That'll be a fun time. We had fun when we were up there for the Notre Dame game. Good food.
But speaking of Yogi's, tomorrow night after the game with Todd Leary, of course, takes place live from Yogi's as Indiana takes on Northwestern at 7 o'clock. And then if you're not already there, you can join us afterwards at Yogi's. Then now Saturday, don't forget, we're back again, of course, a noon tip. Indiana takes on Ohio State. There is a players' reunion going on that day. And if you wanted to stop by Yogi's, you never know who you might see. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, we do have a Saturday's Ohio State game is a former player and manager reunion game. So there will be a lot of guys from a lot of the older teams. There'll be a lot of guys from a lot of coaches from former teams will show up. I can't promise those coaches are going to show up at Yogi's, but I can promise a lot of the players will end up coming into Yogi's. So
that show could end up being a much longer show than normal.
It could. I know.
Normally we try to go about an hour. We usually end up going a little over, but this I could see this show lasting a couple hours possibly Saturday. You never know. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to get a lot of players. And I know you hear me every day, so it gets old. But I'll be interested to hear a lot of my old teammates and guys from even teams way before me that hear their opinion on the team and their take on it because. We people may think that we talk a lot more than we really do, but we talk more at these type of events than on a daily basis. So I'll be interested to hear what a lot of the guys like Joe Hillman and some of those guys have to say about the team.
And, and they don't do this stuff enough, but I think this has been spurred on by people like yourself, like Matt Nover, saying that they don't do this stuff enough.
Well, all the other programs do it and do a better job at it. I mean, quite frankly, how do I say this without it sounding like I'm blaming Coach Knight?
I was getting ready to say I would put most of the blame on this. Well, not blame. I would put the result on Coach Knight on there being so much fractured elements of this. It's just been fractured, and so when you're fractured at the top, it's hard to put it together underneath.
Yeah, and it's even more than that because it wasn't a huge issue when he was here. It wasn't something that. They made a point of doing, and he was, Coach Knight just didn't believe in that kind of thing. He didn't think it was a big deal to have guys come back and be around all the time, and the other programs do, the other programs, Michigan State specifically. I mean, I know in talking to Dane Fife, I know they do a great job of having some of their former players, come back and be involved in the development of their team and talking to players and helping them through the tough times of the year and tough situations. And that was never a Coach Knight thing. And so that just kind of carried over. And I don't when Kelvin Sampson, when he came in, he didn't start, every coach comes in and says they want, they want the former players to be a part of the program, but none of them ever mean it. And that it never really happens. Nothing comes to fruition. And I know Scott Dolson and Fred Glass, those guys have tried to figure out a way to do it. It's basically like starting up a whole new program because it's just never really been a part of what Indiana's done.
Jennifer says it's a very bad time to be playing Ohio State. It will be a tough game. The game is too early in the day for my blood pressure to rise over IU basketball.
With you there on that one.
Tim wants to know, does Todd remember playing Ohio State in 1993? Did a fan steal Bob Knight's clipboard?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Hopefully I was more focused than worried about a fan stealing Bob Knight's clipboard. But, this in Jennifer's comment, I mean, it's a bad time / it could be a good time. I mean, Ohio State's on a 3-game losing skid. The chances of them losing 4 in a row generally is probably not very good, but they're coming to a tough environment. I mean, when they were marking down their schedule to start the year out, I bet they had this one marked as a loss just because it's a difficult place to play. Looking at Indiana's roster, I mean, I bet that they would not have considered this a for sure win.
Well, as a team that we picked to possibly win the Big Ten, they're already in that danger zone of having too many losses if they lose to Indiana.
Well, 4 losses in the Big Ten.
To start the season?
On January, as of January 10th or whatever. I mean, that would be crazy. But they will finish, they'll be up there in the top 3 or 4. By the end of the year, the schedule has put itself in a position. Now, they're definitely going to have to beat somebody big on the road. This Indiana win would be a good one for them. They're going to need to go to Michigan State and win. That home loss to Wisconsin, you want to talk about – everyone talks about Indiana going up to Wisconsin and losing being a bad loss. Like losing at home to Wisconsin's a real, real bad loss.
What has changed for Ohio State? What's changed for them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you could just pinpoint one thing other than, they've got an injury issue with Kyle Young. He's a valuable member to their team and one of the guys who I think you could look at as saying that he's kind of their glue guy. He's kind of the guy they rely on to, get a lot of big rebounds and set screens, and he always seems to get a timely basket. I think he only averages like 8 to 10 points somewhere in there, but he's just that, that solid guy that you can always count on. He's a little bit like Trace Jackson Davis from a number standpoint. Now their games are not similar at all, but he's just consistent. He always gives you kind of the same thing, and they've not had that. And look, Ohio State is not a great outside shooting team. So, when you go on the road and if you struggle to shoot, now they also have guys that are capable of making it. They're a lot like Indiana. They have guys that are capable of making it. They just not have shot the ball very well. And we always say it because we feel like Indiana, it happens to them all the time, but Indiana seems to be the remedy for a lot of bad shooting teams. They're able to come in here and shoot well.
Alan's hoping for a 2 to 3 hour show on Saturday.
Well, if we have the kind of turnout as we are expecting to have, there should be a lot of former players and managers. I mean, I hope L. Frank comes back. I hope we get some of the.
Really, you think?
I think there's a definite chance for that.
Are you serious? I figured he'd be busy.
Well, I'm sure he's busy, but it's a Saturday. It's an important thing.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would make a spectacular show. I mean, that would, and if there's nothing to say, we can't restart a new show afterwards.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll carry it on as long as people seem to be interested, and as long as there's a reception right after the game at Cook Hall, and those things tend to not last all that long. So I have invited all the players that will be there to come over by Yogi's afterwards. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout.
Yeah, we may have to do 2 different shows that day.
We may have to,
and we're not above. It's not above us. We'll do that. We'll do it. We'll do whatever it takes to put it on for you guys. But hopefully we could have a potentially really, really good show on Saturday. Joker says a long show on Saturday will speed my workday up. Well, I'm hoping that we can speed that up all the more.
Well, what'd be real easy to talk about will be if we've got a bunch of positive if Indiana plays well and comes away with a win, everybody, I don't care if it's former player or fans, it doesn't matter. Like, everybody's in a better mood when you win games like that. So,
and let me tell you, you think Indiana fans are kind of chewing on the sour apple right now? What do you think Ohio State fans are going to be if they were to lose that game to Indiana? The situation they would be in after being one game short of being the number one team in the country. If they had lost to Wisconsin in that swing when votes were coming, they were about to be the number one team in the country, and now they're potentially looking at being 1-4 in the Big Ten. You talk about a crazy, crazy season.
But they're also typical Ohio State fans, because you know what they'll say at that point? We're a football school. They'll be right back to, when their team is up there rated number 2 in the country and poised to be number 1. They're all about it and they're all excited and happy. But as soon as they have a couple of tough losses, they just go back to being a football school.
Yeah, and there's several people that mentioned Chris Holtmann as a guy that they wish that Indiana would have looked at or hired, whatnot. Well, you got a guy that he's mired in a little bit of a losing situation with a team that is supposedly much better.
Yeah, you want me to put one out there for you? Chris Holtmann will be the next University of Kentucky coach, and I bet that happens in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not. I agree. I know why you're saying it, and it's not like it's in any way far fetched.
Yep, I firmly believe that will happen. I'm not trying to spur anything up.
Now, what's his relationship there, though? Is it just
he grew up as a UK fan? He's from Kentucky. He grew up as a UK fan.
He did?
Yep.
Where's he from?
I'm not sure. I mean, I would say a small town in Kentucky, but that's
or southern Ohio along the Ohio River, maybe.
Every town in Kentucky is a small town.
Well, he could be playing. Yeah, a lot of you got those people live along the river in the small town as well.
Well, I mean, and you look at it. So, Ohio State's a big time job. What'd you say, Jake? Where's he from?
Really? That's just right outside of Indianapolis. I mean, right outside of Lexington, rather. Just north of Lexington, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's just south of Lexington.
It's he grew up a huge fan of UK, and it's like a kid growing up as a huge fan of Indiana. I mean, you don't lose that no matter where you go. I mean, it's always important, big deal to you. He's at being at Butler. He did a fantastic job, obviously. Ohio State, I mean, look at the fast turnaround he's had with them. I think this is truly just my opinion, but I think the whole Calipari experiment, I think that's going to really start to crumble in a hurry. And I think
I said 2 years ago that as soon as they change the rule that allows players to go directly to the NBA, that Calipari is 1 year removed from being out of college basketball.
Yep, I think that you're right, and I think that I think if he gets an opportunity, like he's proven that he likes the NBA, coaching situation. So I think that the next big coaching opportunity, can you definitely see him leaving to go coach the Lakers or go coach somewhere like that? I mean,
yes, but it's a bunch of crap because he doesn't really coach. He just out-talents people. And, of course, I know you try to do that in the NBA, which is why it would be perfect for him because he doesn't coach. He just out-talents people.
Well, it just seems this way that every time his what do you call it? His whole system kind of runs its course, he leaves whatever program he's at and goes on to the next thing. And I think I think the whole deal at Kentucky is kind of run its course, and I think that it'll be time for him to move on. And that's a scary situation for Indiana fans because Chris Holtmann at UK will, he's doing a great job at. There is no one in the world that's ever going to argue the fact that Ohio State's a football school. I mean, it's like being Alabama. Like, they are a football school, end of story, no two ways about it. They're never going to be – they could win 4 national championships in a row in basketball, and they're still going to be a football school. Kentucky, no matter what, if they win 4 football championships in a row, they're always going to be a basketball school. And Chris Holtmann could go to Kentucky and turn them into something Indiana fans would not want. I don't want it.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having a good coach, but that's what it's going to take, a guy that can, like Holtman. And I think it would be perfect timing for them because Calipari will have been there for a decade and he can go out on his own accord and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a move Indiana may be looking at potentially as well. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't see that way. I think Indiana will get it turned around and we won't be having that discussion. So, but it's always possible. You never know. I mean, heck, so many of these coaching situations take a turn in a different direction. You just, we all really thought Kalen DeBoer would stick around for another year and take a big time coaching job. And, he jumped at the first opportunity he had. So, well,
that was a unique opportunity though. It was, that's the place where he just came from. And so he's got an allegiance to some players there. And so I get that. I mean, I think he should have stayed personally to get a better job.
I get it too. I mean, it makes some sense. I think we all thought that he was more qualified than that for a bigger job. So I thought he would stick it out for another year or two and take a bigger job. But, that's what I'm saying. It's just unpredictable. I mean, guys have different reasons that we don't know about. And, Chris Holtman having a childhood love of Kentucky basketball. I mean, that doesn't go away. It's like being a childhood love for an Indiana kid of Indiana basketball. I mean, it doesn't go away. And to have that opportunity to go back there, I think he will have that opportunity, and I think he will take it.
Happy birthday to Rashard Fant today, friend of the show, former IU football player, Chicago Bear. Been on the show with us before. Today's his birthday, so happy birthday to him.
We have a big birthday wish tomorrow for William Leary. William Leary will be 17 tomorrow.
Big 17.
1-7, yep.
My brother's birthday as well. It's a busy month, man.
It sure is.
It's a busy, busy month. But it's definitely going to be a busy month for Indiana basketball. They've had all this time. We talked about all that time off, Todd, with games spread out, 3 games over 3 weeks, which is an unbelievable amount of downtime. Miserable. Now that's opposite. Now they ratchet it up, and they're playing games every 3 and 4 days at maximum, and you do that for a pretty long stretch. Personally, I prefer that, but it can get taxing and wear on you.
It can, and especially if you have injuries creep up. But, I mean, I don't want to make excuses. Believe me, Indiana should have beaten Arkansas. They easily should have won. Their last couple of games. They should have beat Notre Dame easier. They should have beaten Nebraska easier. I think they should have played better at Maryland. I don't want to make excuses, but I do also want to bring up the point that it's much easier to get in a rhythm and play when you're playing every 3 or 4 days. You start to get, games are different than practice. I don't care how much you can possibly practice. You cannot emulate the speed and contact of a game. And now I think they'll be playing better. I like the fact that they've got 2 games here in a row before they go on the road for 2 games. So they got Northwestern here and then Ohio State here. Then next week they've got Wednesday at Rutgers and Saturday at Nebraska. I like the fact that those 2 road games are the back end of this 4-game stretch because I want them to get in a rhythm of playing games. You play better when you're doing it over and over again. And I like that situation for them right now.
When we come back, we'll hear from Archie Miller as the Indiana Hoosiers prepare to take on the Northwestern Wildcats in Big Ten play. That's tonight, tipping at 7 o'clock at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Of course, after the game with Todd Leary, live from Yogi's, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington, comes to you immediately following the game. We'll let you know exactly what happened, what the Hoosiers did, why they did it, maybe why they did it. But we'll try to get it figured out for you and look forward to doing that after the ball game. But we've got plenty more to go here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily, Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I am very knowledgeable about our community and love to share my sights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moore.
Hey, it's Michael Look, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you here on this Wednesday, January 8th. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your week has gone well. Todd Leary, Jim Coyle with you. Dr. J texted in, I'm still optimistic, but if outside shots don't fall, even Northwestern can sit in the paint and screw up the offense. Dr. J from Reynolds Family Dentistry. If you're in Southern Indiana, you need a dentist. Of course, you need to go see Reynolds Family Dentistry. Best in the biz. IU grads, Jay and Roger, do a phenomenal job. We love them.
We do, and they do a great job with questions coming into the show a lot.
That's right.
And statements.
Pay attention. They pay attention to what's going on.
They do. And, you know, his statement, obviously, you know, anybody that packs a zone in, you know, is going to try to make you beat them from the outside. And I think that, you know, that's kind of the MO for what the recipe to beat Indiana right now is, to make them beat you from the outside. And looking at it on paper, obviously that makes sense. But, you know, Indiana is just too athletic, and they've got good players. I mean, it's not like Indiana is playing with guys that can't make shots. They just right now they haven't taken good shots, and they haven't made a bunch of good shots. But they have shown the ability to score inside. They've got, you know, what I think is the best big man in the Big Ten, and, you know, one of the best big guys in the country. And I think that this game won't be that big of an issue. They may struggle a little bit. Don't freak out if they have a 3-point halftime lead. You know, they'll win by 15, 12, 15, 20.
Tommy says, who will IU's next coach be? LMAO.
Yeah. I mean, that's just silly talk.
I'll say that'll be Chris Beard. But Tim texted in, does Rob Fennessy break into the starting lineup tonight or Saturday? I don't know, because I don't know that we've talked about Rob Fennessy so much in so many different ways. I'm not sure that him not being in the starting lineup has anything to do with his level of play. I'm wondering, like I said earlier, is if this is Archie trying to mitigate the loss of the talent level that's in the game at any particular moment by bringing him in when Al or Devontae go out.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing to think about with that, and I'm sure that they talk about this and think about this as well, but some guys just play better when they start. Some guys just play better when they come off the bench. And I think there's a factor involved with Rob. One, I think it would help his confidence to start. But two, when he comes in, I mean, we've commented on the fact that Indiana almost does like a hockey line substitution where when they sub at that, 16, 15, 14-minute mark, I mean, we're talking 3 solid subs, sometimes 4 subs are coming in at a time. And so I don't want to say it because the drop-off it's a little bit of a drop-off, but it's not crazy. But, I mean, the talent level that you're playing with, Rob's not playing with the best players most of the time. And when he comes in for that first substitution pattern, a lot of times he's the scorer on the floor. Or if Trace Jackson Davis stays in, he's one of the only 2 scorers on the floor. Because when you've got, Jerome Hunter and Demezy Anderson and those guys, Deron Davis, if those guys all come on the floor with you, those guys are not scorers. They are not. I don't care what anybody tries to convince me of. I've watched Demezy Anderson play since he was a freshman in high school, and he is not a scorer. I don't know who recruited him or what those silly people ranked him at from a guard position, but he's not a scorer. And he's going to have to start shooting 50% from the 3-point line before I change my opinion on that. And so Rob Fennessy becomes the number 1 or number 2 scoring option when he's in the game. And I'm not sure that that's Rob's game. I know it's not what he's always been at the position that he's played in. So, I'd like to see Rob start, but the lineup I would like to see would be, I'd love to see Joey Brunk come in off the bench. And it doesn't mean I think Joey Brunk has played much better in the last 3 games than he has the rest of the season. But, I just think Indiana would be better with him coming off the bench.
Yeah, I don't understand why you don't have your 3 best guys out there. I mean, just going at it, Rob, Al, and Devontae. Why not have them on the floor at the same time? You don't have to take them all 3 out at the same time. You can stagger that after the fact and probably have it at a point to where one of them is in the game at all times that way. But I still haven't gotten a grip on why or what positive is coming from doing it this other way. Of course, I'm no one. I defer to you, to other people for that. But I like to think that I have somewhat the ability to look at things and ascertain certain situations. And I can't figure this one out. And even talking to people like I do, whether it's you or other people, still haven't really gotten a clear picture on why and what's being gained.
Yeah, I agree with you on that issue, and I just don't I don't like the starting lineup the way that it is now. Nobody cares about what my opinion is. I'm just telling you, like I would prefer it to be a faster. We talk about wanting to push the ball up and down the court, and we've got the second slowest guy on the team on the floor to start the game out, and Joey Brunk. And so, Deron Davis is the only guy on the team slower than him, and he's slower than you and me. But so when Brunk goes out, it generally means Deron is coming in. So you've always got a slow guy going up and down the court. Now, you don't need both big guys running the floor. I get that. You don't want them both running down underneath the rim. You need a trailer, and I understand that perspective. I would like for my trailer to have the capability of making an outside jump shot. And with Brunk and Deron Davis, you don't have that. Even Race Thompson has the ability to step out, be the trailer and hit, a transition 3-pointer in secondary break. And so, I would even like that. I would prefer to start those 3 guards, Justin Smith and Trace Jackson Davis, and have Joey Brunk come in off the bench. I think that would be a great guy to bring in off the bench. Now, you still have Armand Franklin to come in off the bench from a guard's perspective. So I don't see the real negative in starting those guys. And then, right now is when I would start tightening up the minutes and the numbers. I mean, they have played Demezy Anderson and Jerome Hunter and Deron Davis, and those guys, in my personal opinion, have played way too many minutes.
I agree, and I don't know. I think that I think that second wave, whether it's Jerome Hunter, Demezy Anderson, that is being brought in, the hopes were much higher for their contributions and what they could do from a production standpoint. And we haven't seen that. We haven't seen the shooting from Demezy Anderson. We haven't seen the shooting from Jerome Hunter. We haven't seen any interior play, really haven't seen anything for them to give to this team. So it's almost, I hate to say this, but it's almost pointless when they're on the floor.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, when Race Thompson comes in, I think he helps out from a rebounding perspective. He's a big body that's in there, so I get that. When you look at Jerome Hunter especially, I mean, he's averaging 11, almost 12 minutes a game. And his productivity is just nothing. I mean, he doesn't do anything when he comes in the game. And we don't need guys to come in and take up space. We need the guys to come in and be productive. I mean, Demezy Anderson is averaging 15 minutes a game. And, so you look at his points and he's averaging 3.9 points a game. From the position that they need him for, the guy, I mean, he's shooting 28% from the 3-point line. That's not acceptable. I mean, he's not a scorer. He's not a shooter. So what is he? How would you describe Demezy Anderson if he's not a shooter, which he's not? What is he? What does he come in there and do for you? What does Jerome Hunter come in there and do for you? They take up minutes is all I can see they do. And so those are minutes that I would give to Rob Finney and Armand Franklin and Al Durham and because those guys at least have the capability of production for you.
Joker says Archie needs to sub a player at a time to get into flow, not 4 at a time with no flow. And Tebow says Rob started last year. I would be upset if I didn't get to start this year. It would take some of my motivation away.
Yeah, I mean that's I've always been a player that said, or always been a fan that said I care way more about who finishes the half than who starts the half, and I do believe in that. Although I also believe it's not like this lineup's been clicking. I mean, we said it to start the year when they were 9-0 or 10-0 or whatever that maybe it was a superstition. That was why they kept the lineup the way that it was, and Armand Franklin started so many games to start the year out. But now, I mean, now that that's kind of been broken up and the team is not playing all that well together, I would be trying something different.
But we had this similar, it's a different situation, but a very similar situation to last year. It's a different reasons, but the same result. Team not clicking, a team that is not in cohesion, a team that is not playing together. It was a different reason last year, but at the end of the day, it's the same result, and you're getting the same result on the court.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that. I mean, if we have a 12-game losing streak, I will sit here and say, man, you guys all predicted this and saw this coming, and I didn't see it. But I don't think it's the same thing. And you can't just wipe it away and say, hey, it's, I know it's a different reason, but it's the same result. It's not the same result right now. I mean, they're 11-3. And they've got an opportunity to schedule-wise. I like the schedule. I really like the way it sets up. It's set up for them to take advantage of it. Now, they still have to go out and do it. And if they don't do it, I will agree with you and say, hey, they're more talented than what they're doing. If they have a 6-game losing streak, I will jump off the board and tell you that, yeah, you guys saw something I didn't see. But I don't see it in this team. And at 11-3, you can't say we're having the same problems they had last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this team's going to lose 12 in a row or whatever. I just meant from the similarities of you hear a lot of people last year talk about I'm not seeing the effort, I'm not seeing this team play together, and we're seeing some of those similar traits.
I'm seeing the effort though. Like last year, okay, so because because the way Romeo Langford played, he never looked like he was playing 100%. He never looked like a guy that was diving on the floor and his hair was on fire, is the term you like to use. He just never looked like that. Doesn't mean he wasn't playing hard. He kind of had a cool guy look to him. And this team doesn't have that. I mean, Justin Smith has a cool guy look to him, but he's pretty much the only one. Everybody else plays hard and dives on the floor, and it's a totally different team. So I don't see any comparison whatsoever. Last year's team, with Romeo Langford, he's an incredible talent. He is not a good teammate. He's not a good guy to have on your team. And when I say that, I don't mean he's selfish. I don't mean he's whatever. He's difficult to play with. And
from a fundamental standpoint,
from the standpoint of he's a ball stopper. I mean, when the ball gets in his hands,
it's not going anywhere else.
The only place it's going is to the basket. Yeah. And so, when you've got a team like that, it's much more difficult to get any cohesion, to get guys to play together. This team is not that way. This team will pass the ball. Even Devontae Green, I will tell you, if Devontae Green's open, I want him to shoot it every single time. And, I can't say that about Romeo. If Romeo's open, Romeo is not a great outside shooter. He never was. He wasn't in high school and he wasn't in college. So he's not that same type of player. Now, driving and slashing to the basket, he's as good as Indiana has ever had. But this team is totally different. And, they've got to play to their strengths, and their strengths right now are going through Trace Jackson Davis and going through the post. Both of their post players, Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis, are as unselfish of big guys as you could ever want to play for. And as a guard, that's a good thing to have. I would try to get them the ball as much as possible because good things happen when they touch it. And this team is just different than last year's, in my opinion.
We got plenty more to get to. The Indiana women taking on Purdue at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall tomorrow night. So go out and support the women as they are rolling. They are looking to I see them pulling down a Big Ten championship this year. Purdue in their way right now as the Boilermakers come to Simon Scott Assembly Hall tomorrow night. Of course, tonight after the game, with Todd Larry happens to you, live from Yogi's. We'll be there. But we've got plenty more here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coy Larry. We're back right after this to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studio.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Coming off of a loss, it's very, very difficult. In a back-to-back loss situation, it's hard to think about the good things. But there are some guys doing some good things out there. Every single one of our guys has a good attitude right now. We have to play harder for longer defensively, and we're looking for guys to start to raise their level up a little bit. And I think Race Thompson's done a really good job of that here recently. He's put a lot of pressure, as has Duran, in the last 7 to 10 days of amping it up in practice, where there's a lot of competition for Joey and Trace. Race and Duran are as a four-man group, are really doing a good job. And I think, those two guys, Duran and Race, more improved minutes, gets a fresher team out there, and has got to continue to do a good job. So I'm pleased with those guys. I'm waiting for our backcourt to kind of step up. I think those guys have been real coachable. I think those guys have all had their moments where they've had good stretches, but we haven't found that consistency from our backcourt that's rock-solid play, that you're getting a lot of quality plays. There's too many games where we're looking at our backcourt saying, man, they didn't shoot the ball that well, or they didn't get that many assists. We have to get our backcourt to raise their level in certain things, and I think as those four guys continue to play a lot of minutes, if you can get 2 or 3 of them playing really well at the same time, our team is so much better. And that's the quest. That's the challenge. I think that, challenging guys today, before practice, during practice, and after, we start to get some results. I think our backcourt is due to sort of break out and have a couple guys really play well.
There's Coach Archie Miller, Indiana basketball coach, with several comments. Adding to that, Dr. J says, I think that when Crean's last recruits are worked out of the system, I still think that when Crean's last recruits are worked out of the system, them a few there may see a mentality shift. Why is that? I get it that they were recruited by a different guy to play a different style maybe, but that ship has sailed, and if their goal, like I'm sure Devontae Green's goal, is to make it to the league, I think that you just do whatever it takes to learn, and this is an opportunity to learn under a different system, because you don't know who's going to draft you and where you're going if you were able to get to that next level. So you can't control what system you're in or who you're playing for. And I know that there are differences, but at the end of the day, I'm like, it really doesn't matter. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Here's, if you have a coach that comes in that has a drastically different philosophy, like a Tony Bennett, coming in and taking over when you've been at a place that, pushes the ball up and down the floor, that would be a drastic change where you could say, okay, well, it's a complete, I didn't sign up for this type of system. Well, that's not the case. I mean, these guys are being told to push the ball as fast as they can. That doesn't, Tom Crean, our issue with him was when they would push the ball, how many times did we see the guys get going so fast, they literally just dribble straight out of bounds? And it happened so many times. I've never even seen that happen in high school. And we had guys so out of control, it looked like there was no control over anyone. And that's not the case with this team, but they have been told, push the ball, get it down the floor and explore what's there. If you've got an open look 6 seconds into the shot clock, you're allowed to take it. This team is not, they're not set up like Virginia. Like I don't know how Virginia ever comes out of what they're in. They were so lucky to have Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome and those guys that could shoot the ball and play in that system. When your team's only averaging 54 points a game, I mean, you're not going to get college players to go sign up and play for that. Indiana doesn't have that situation. I mean, these guys, I don't see the issue with Devontae Green thinking this system doesn't fit his game. I know that's just a question coming in from the outside, but I don't really see that as an issue. These guys have the green light to shoot when they're open. They have the green light to push the ball down the floor and play at a fast pace, which every kid wants to play at. The only person that doesn't want to play at a fast pace is Joey Brunk and Deron Davis. They want to walk it down the floor so they can get their big butt down the floor and get in the post.
I mean, fans are fed this by other fans that this issue of having old players there. Which I'm like going, I don't think it matters as long as you have the player that can play the game.
Like I agree with you in this case specifically because Archie Miller doesn't recruit a whole lot different player than what is already at Indiana. I mean, Rob Finney is a Archie Miller recruit, and we love the way that he plays. I mean, he plays very similar. Armand Franklin's,
but you're not getting from him right now what you need to get from him, and he's an Archie Miller recruit.
Okay, but I mean, he's not playing that well. I mean, we saw last year.
That's my point. It doesn't matter who recruits you.
That's not on the coaches though. That's on the players. Like they're not playing well.
I get that. My point is it doesn't matter who's recruited them. You got guys that aren't playing well that came from both places. So that argument doesn't really hold a lot of water. Not yours, the argument of saying where they come from.
Yeah, and I agree with you. When the system is not that much different, and here, quite frankly, Archie Miller's system is not that much different than the majority of systems across college basketball, meaning Duke and Michigan State and Michigan and places like that. Like, he's not recruiting any different players than what they are. I mean, the systems, the guys are going to be allowed to display their talents within Archie Miller's system. And so that's not an issue. I mean, that is, believe me, he wants them to go down and display their talents. Right now, I think it's Archie Miller's job to take what they have on this team, which a couple of them we're definitely discussing are his recruits. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis, Rob Finney, Armand Franklin, those guys are his responsibility to figure out the best way for them to play well together. And, our analogy of it is it hasn't been working. They haven't been getting it out of Rob. I know what their response is going to be is he's been hurt and sick and he's not been able to practice, blah, blah, all those issues. Those are all facts. I'm skimming past them because, from an art, what's that?
I think because I think you're skipping past it because I think it's crap.
Well, I don't know that it's crap. I think we're past it. I think we're past using it as an excuse, and I think now is the time to do something different. And the thing I would do different is I'd start a different lineup. I would try starting Rob Finney, see if it shakes it up. What do you have to lose? It's not like they've been lighting it on fire with the lineup they've had in there. So I will
say this. Archie does not seem like a guy who, even when you're at the point of what do you have to lose, he doesn't seem like the guy that still does it. Like last year when we saw the 12-game losing streak, we didn't see a lot of changes going on. It's like, dude, what are you waiting on? You have no more better time than now to say what the hell because the season has gone to hell. So he's been a little slow to try to make those adjustments.
I don't disagree with you. I think last year, again, I'm going to fall back on last year's team was a difficult team to coach. This year's team is a much easier team to coach from my perspective, looking at it from the way I see it.
Right.
And you don't have any ball stoppers. And if the ball stops when it gets to Devontae Green, it's because it's going up, and I want it to go up when he has it. So I see that as a positive. I would like to see, that last Maryland game, I saw some things in that game that we've not seen. I saw Justin Smith play with his back to the basket and make three shots inside the lane that were not dunks. We've not seen that from him in other games. If we continue to get that from him, I think Indiana has a huge positive upside coming from that. He's the swing guy. You can look at him as a big guy. You can also look at him as a guard. He can defend with his length and his athletic ability. He can defend a big guy. He can also defend a wing player and, a 2-guard, and a 3-guard, and a 4-man. He's your swing guy that can play all those positions. And, I would like to see 3 guards play with him. They're counting him as the 3rd guard right now, and I'd like to see a 3rd guard play with him.
Yeah, it's been unusual because Archie, since he's been here, has run 3 guards most of the time in his offense. And now maybe you can say that he hasn't been as set up in the post as well as he is right now with Trace Jackson Davis.
but for the most part, everybody else is the same. So I'm really not understanding why the complete shift away. I think maybe it would help Trace Jackson Davis if you had 3 guards on the floor.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think Indiana would be, Archie has shown, at least this season, he's shown that he likes to play with 2 big guys. He likes a high-low situation with 2 big guys. And I'm just saying I just don't like that as well. I don't. In today's college basketball game, I mean, Joey Brunk has played good. He plays hard. He's a great kid. I want him to have a significant role on this team. I'm not necessarily sure it needs to be a starting role on this team.
Yeah, it's just a role that most benefits the team.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, coming out of that last clip, listening to that last clip, I mean, here's something like I feel Archie's a guard. He was a point guard. I mean, I feel like, he and I probably see the game through somewhat the same lens in a lot of regards. We don't when it comes to Deron Davis, because out of that last clip, him talking about Deron is earning more minutes. I don't understand that, because Deron Davis wouldn't play 1 minute on my AAU team.
Yeah, but doesn't Archie a lot of the times you find just give a lot more coach speak than some guys do?
Yeah, except for he's been backing that up. He's been playing Deron. I mean, I think a lot of times, he doesn't like to do those interviews. He's a basketball guy, and he's not John Calipari where, he's slicking his hair back and trying to look cool, and he's not Tom Crean where he's in the tanning bed 7 days a week. And
he's not Tom Izzo either.
But I mean, those guys, a lot of those guys like to be in the limelight. They like interviews. They like to be out talking to people. Archie doesn't, I mean, he's going to say whatever he has to do to get out of there the fastest. And I'm saying that from a positive standpoint. He's my basketball coach at Indiana University. I want him worrying about basketball.
Yeah, but to me,
I hated those interviews.
Great recruiters because they can do that. And that, to me, that helps with recruiting.
It helps with recruiting the 5-star guys, which you and I both know. I don't want to recruit any more 5-star guys. I want to recruit 1 5-star guy a year, and I want 3 other guys that are going to play the way that we want them to play. I don't want guys that are demanding the basketball. I don't want guys that are demanding shots. I want guys that are going to do whatever it takes to win. And I think that
sometimes that is demanding the basketball.
Sometimes it is. Totally.
I think a lot of people wish Trace Jackson Davis would demand the ball a lot more.
Everyone does, including the coaching staff. I agree with you. Totally agree with you. We wish that he was more selfish. We wish that he demanded the ball all the time. Here's the crazy part. Is I don't think these guys on this team are selfish. I think Justin Smith's a cool guy. All right. I think he plays like a cool guy. He acts like a cool guy. I don't ever see him where I think he's playing 100%. But I also don't think he's a selfish player either. I think if Trace Jackson Davis ran down the floor and said, pass me the freaking ball, I think they would pass him the ball. So I don't think that we have a team where we have a problem, where we have guys that are, selfish and looking for their own numbers. I think Devontae Green is a guy that looks at his numbers after the game, and I want that. Every team needs a selfish scoring guy. And I think Indiana has the perfect one, because I don't think Devontae is going to jack up a bunch of shots, if guys are open. I think when Devontae jacks up shots, it's because the shot clock's running down and no one else has stepped forward and proven that they can make a tough shot. And so I like the makeup of this team a lot. I think that. I mean, I think I value them, in the power rankings. I'm a terrible power ranking guy because I'm looking at what I think their potential is. And they've got big, big potential. Have they played anywhere near to that for 40 minutes in a game? Not even remotely close.
Yeah, and if you look at this team, they have something that on paper that you would really like and looks good. And that's, you got 4 guys that are averaging between 11 and 15 points.
It's awesome.
4 guys in double figures. You couldn't ask for anything more than that, other than 5 guys in double figures.
What's Rob Finney averaging?
The next thing I'm saying, the one guy who's not in that group of 4 is Rob Finney, who, if he was doing that, I think that would make such a difference on this team if he was scoring points as well. I think it just opens things up for other guys as well.
Totally agree. I mean, and I don't – here's what I do like about that, though. He's one guy that's not, and we know he's capable of doing it. So that's a real positive. It's not like we're asking, all of a sudden Jerome Hunter to start averaging 15 points a game, who's not shown us the ability to score 15 points in the season. So, I think that they have that potential and that opportunity to do that. And I like Rob being the guy that needs to step up and do that. Look, I'm not sugarcoating anything. Rob Finney needs to play better. Armand Franklin needs to play better, and Al Durham needs to play better. Those are the three guys who I think have the most ability to improve their play. Devontae Green, we know what we're going to get out of Devontae Green, and that's what we want. I don't want the ball in Devontae's hands all the time. I want him to catch it and shoot it. Otherwise, it's got a good chance of being a turnover. And I want those other three guys to up their game. Al Durham, I said this in the last two ball games. Al Durham is the guy who's not playing as well right now as he did to start the season. And you go back and look at the very first two ball games. I think he had 23 and 17 points. And he missed one shot in the first two games. I'm not saying he has to do that, but we need him to average 13, and we need him to be a big part of the game plan. And he's not been that. He's been the guy that has not played as well as he did to start the season.
Yeah, and we know that he's been through some roughness, injury situation, and the sickness and all that. But at some point, you think that it wouldn't take that much longer to get back up and
we're tired of talking. We're tired of the excuses. I'm tired of.
We're talking about 19-year-old kid here. I was 19 once, and I remember having energy for days.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I mean, these guys. Look, I understand you deal with injuries and you deal with that kind of stuff. I get it, okay? And right now, watching what's out there on the floor, everybody looks healthy. Everybody looks like they are. Very seldom are guys ever 100%. Like I'm telling you, this is something people don't understand, but everything hurts. I mean, your toes hurt, your ankles hurt, your knees hurt, your shoulders hurt.
Like you want to talk about hurting? You want to talk about hurting? Here's hurting. Jerome Hunter from 3-point shooting, 3 of 23. That's 13%, my friends. 13%. He's taken 23 shots. That's 20 turnovers, basically. Because, I mean, totally that's just agree. Like when you said Knight told you just to hand the ball over. That's basically what you got going on there. 13%. He should not be allowed to shoot another 3 the rest of the year.
So how many shots is he taking on the year right now?
Total shots or 3-point shots?
Total shots.
45.
Okay, so more than half of his shots are 3-pointers. That's my problem. That's my problem with him. So if he comes in a game and he takes, he's in the lane and he gets 3 tip baskets or put back baskets, or we throw it to him in the post and he scores in the post, and he does that and he shoots a 3-pointer, I can live with that. But when he comes in the game and his first shot's a 3-pointer or his second shot's a 3-pointer, or he hasn't done anything to earn the right to shoot that 3-pointer, a 13% 3-point shooter doesn't get to shoot that shot. But my issue with that is he would not have that opportunity until he proved to me in practice he could make 90%, because he doesn't do anything. Go across and look at his stats all the way across there. The guy has as little production as you could possibly get in 11 or 12 minutes a game. He does nothing. Demezy Anderson, same thing. They've not proven to me they deserve to be on the floor. So I don't understand why they're on the floor. Demezy playing 14 minutes a game is crazy to me. That guy wouldn't play 14 minutes in a month for Coach Knight. Did I freak you out there?
No, I'm adding between.
Yeah, I've already done it. They're about 20%. If you put them all together, they're about 20%.
19 of 90.
It's crazy.
Let me say that again for people to listen. 19 of 90 attempts. That is staggeringly bad.
And that's who? That's Demezy.
That is Demezy Anderson, Jerome Hunter, and Armand Franklin.
Right. And that's Armand Franklin going 4 for 5 in one game.
Yeah, that's
what's
just,
that?
Oh, Jake's telling us we went long again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're
It's
having
my bad.
fun. Well, we are.
When I get going on these guys,
I'm telling you.
I get freaked
Hey,
out.
we got plenty more coming back up. We're back tomorrow. Don't forget Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, tonight, don't forget, after the game with Todd Leary coming to you live from Yogi's as Indiana hosts Northwestern at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. That game tips at 7. Therefore, we should be on approximately around 9-ish. So, therefore, make sure you tune in for that as well tonight. And, of course, Saturday is going to be a huge show after the game with Todd Leary coming to you live from Yogi's as well. But that's after Indiana takes on Ohio State. There's a players' reunion. Never know who's going to be on that day. Never know who's going to be at Yogi's. Maybe a place you want to stop by as well. But we got plenty more to get to tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Until then, I can't thank Matt Weaver enough from Peaks.com. Thanks a lot to Jake for keeping us on the wheel. And, of course, to the Todd Father, Todd Leary. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, until tonight, see you on the radio.